My name is Ted Verani. I'm head of business development for Wappier. And what we do is intelligent revenue management. Specifically, we're using machine learning technology to help in automating loyalty rewards programs for players and helping to manage, as well as to optimize in-app purchase pricing. So specifically, game developers can use our tool set. They can create, without using engineers, create a program for their players that encourages them to do what you want, come back more often, spend more time in the game, earn points, which you then redeem for things you sell, virtual currency and virtual goods, as well as then we do country-specific pricing and offering of special dynamic pricing for special offers and bundles. That said, today's not about how to create a VIP program. It's not how to better price your in-app purchase, but rather how to design a game for optimal IP, because frankly, before I can even help creating a VIP program or to better price your in-app purchases, you need a game that works. And what I mean there is you need a game that, first of all, people want to come in, spend some time in, but more importantly, willing to spend some of their money to buy stuff within the game. So, and that's tough, right? It's a challenging market. It takes not only a good understanding of game design and user experience, but also player behavior, and virtual economy tuning. So we are very fortunate to have a great group of panelists here with us. They've built games from the ground up, but also now managing teams of product managers and producers in a portfolio of titles. So let me ask each one of you guys to introduce yourselves and what you're working on.
My name is Chris, long time no see. I work for Huuuge Games. I'm the head of third-party publishing and the general manager of the Berlin office. We do actually have flagship games in the social casino space, but we also moved into the hyper-casual space called Tap Games. So just if anybody's out there and interested in, maybe publishing through us, just come and see me. Yeah, we built games from the scratch up, obviously, and we're very interested also in improving in-app purchase behavior from our existing user base on the social casino titles. So, yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Jure. I'm actually in game business for the last 9 years. I've been working. My background is in game design for free-to-play titles and game production. And currently I'm working as a head of product at Nanobit. We are the biggest game development company in Croatia. And our latest title, which is hit, is My Story. It's a narrative game, and we are super proud of the title. And that's it, yeah.
I'm Bryan Mashinter. I'm the VP of Live Games at Wooga. Which means all of the games that have gone global, not our new pipeline. And we're also working on some narrative games. We're trying to be the player's choice for narrative casual games, which includes obviously some design things when it comes to IAP and ads and how to do that in a way that carries the narrative forward, I think is an interesting challenge. So I'm excited about today's panel.
Thank you. So let me start to kind of give some examples. I'd like to hear some examples, maybe not even your own games, but tell us, maybe starting with you, Bryan, we'll come back here, is as you look at the kind of the cutting edge of design, what are some games that in the last year, maybe further back, that you kind of stood out for you and in terms of how they monetize well in terms of a design perspective? And why? Okay.
Game in the last year. I can go back further though, right?
You can.
Okay, good. I'm going to do that.
Gift?
I think a game that, for me, does a good job with monetization is actually Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. So not my game. But it kind of delivers on the promise of being a kid and wanting to play with all your toys. It didn't matter if you had like Yoda and Darth Vader on the same team when you were a kid, and that game does that very well. And they introduce a lot of new content, kind of good cadence with their universe, and then their event system, their deals, their guild system, their social, all of it kind of reinforces. So I think their monetization design is strongly tied into their game design, which is the reason they have a lot of my dollars. Like I'm that guy.
Okay.
For me, I think Gardenscapes, which is not released in last year, but I think this game is really good in a monetization way. And also, like in general game design, they have a really good core loop. And what they don't allow is actually to buy stars, which obviously are obligatory for progress to the game. So you need to earn these stars by playing those match 3. Also, I'm hooked to home design. I think these guys made a really good job. I mean, you all already know the game, and I think it's really well implemented, and it's kind of natural for player to to monetize and to play the game. It's you understand the mechanics really easily, and it's a new approach in gaming. I would say they have a really good aesthetics, and so I would say those 2 games are my current favorites that I play daily. So yeah, these are really good ones.
Chris?
So I'm one of those terrible people that spend a lot of money on Clash Royale. Early on, I have to admit, I was actually during closed beta stage or open beta stage in Canada, top player in Germany. I can show you the screenshot, it's approved. Recently, I like Dungeon Boss, which is pretty much very similar to what you're describing. It's super similar live ops, and highly recommended in terms of live operations and how they target you for in-app purchases. And because I was a big fan of a game called Rage of Bahamut, which was a early Japanese battle card game, Legendary Game of Heroes is kind of following that same route, and they have a few of my dollars, unfortunately. So yeah.
Cool. Okay. I guess sticking with you, Chris. It's a way. So you probably a mix of people here with mobile as well as PC gaming. I know earlier in your career, you spent a lot of time in the PC world side of gaming. What are some of the differences between designing a mobile free-to-play game versus, say, PC?
So I think, just to give you a brief background, I used to start at a company called Area Games very early on. I'm actually a failed movie director. I know, don't mention it. So, and then I ended up in gaming at some point in a free-to-play industry, and I never thought this is going to fly as a business model, first of all. But then we at Area Games, we made it our motto to port Asian games for the European market. So we would localize and then launch them in Europe, mainly in Germany, France, and Italy. And I think the main difference is, of course, that, so first of all, your mobile phone is still a phone. You spend a lot of time playing on it, but at the end of the day, it's still a phone. You use it for texting or calling somebody. So your session behavior is completely different, right? You don't play like for 2 hours straight or 4 hours straight. So the whole loop design and core game design needs to be completely different, at least, on my planet. Prove me wrong, but so if you play on a PC, obviously you have the full attention, full screen or 2 screens. And on a mobile phone, obviously you have probably 2, 3, maybe 4 sessions during the day, during your bus ride, on the way to work. And it's a different attention kind of situation that you have for PC in comparison with. I think that's the main difference.
Okay. Anything to add to that, or Chris pretty much nailed it?
My whole career's been in mobile.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Nailed
Just
it.
mobile, that's it.
He nailed it. Okay, so then, this is, I want to definitely hear from everyone here, maybe just starting with you, Bryan, just kind of come down, is, hopefully this is helpful, is that do's and don'ts, right? So as you're starting a new game, you're designing a new game, something like that, do you have a list of do's and don'ts that you use as you're working with your team to get this off the ground?
No.
Okay.
I don't have a
Jure?
list. I don't have a list of do's and don'ts, but I do have some areas where I advise caution. Every game is different, how you want to monetize. For me, I don't want to get all philosophical, but...
we talked about your earlier career. Go ahead.
An IAP is a promise from the developer to the player. And it says, if you spend some money, you're going to feel awesome. I'm making you a promise that you give me your money, you will feel good, and I will also feel good. Thank you for that, right? And you want that to be true. So for me, the do's and don'ts are don't break that promise. So don't make it crazy imbalanced. If your IAP affects power or progress, be cautious. Be careful to give too much power for too little. I remember the first Fallout Shelter, or the Fallout Shelter game came out, and you could spend $5 and never need to spend any money again, which was awesome for me, bad for their business. So there's some things about thinking about Can somebody repeat a purchase? So I kind of have some guidelines, but no hard rules.
Fair enough. You right?
Well, I think I agree on mostly what Bryan said, and I think you need to take care about your players, and you need to think about monetization in a really early stage of development. This is a quite mistake that many people do. They think about monetization when the game is already completed, and this is a thing that you need to change, and need to think about how you can, satisfy the business side of the game, and also the most crucial part is the game to be fun. So you need to take care of these two really important things, I would say. So, yeah, that would be my advice.
Okay. Any guidelines, Chris, you might use, or do you have do's and don'ts?
Guidelines, not really, like as an advice.
How about do's and don'ts?
Yeah, not really, to be
No?
honest.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you what kind of games to make, because either you're very passionate about them, then you should do them anyway. I think still, nowadays, to be quite honest, gaming is a business, surprise. So which means you should be very conscious about, it's like opening a shop. What are you going to sell, to who you're going to sell? So I think a gaming decision or to make a game should be very conscious about who you're trying to target and what you're trying to achieve. I think that needs to be done. And as Bryan put very well, is the fact of I call it the bang for the buck factor, right? So the terms of pricing, and if somebody actually ends up spending money in your game, in a free-to-play game, he should feel, or he or she should feel awesome about it, right? And it should be worthwhile, their time. And I think, just as a last advice, you can always start with higher prices and put them lower, but you can never up them afterwards. Never, ever don't. That's the only don't, pretty much, I think.
Yeah. Keeping that kind of thread of thought, right, in terms of, and you're right, you kind of mentioned monetization as being, you got to look at it early, so good point. And related to that, maybe what KPIs are you looking at, early on in this cycle to kind of make you think that, you're on the right track?
Yeah, I would say the crucial for me is the retention, of course, because if you have dedication from a player that will stick in the game, and you will definitely can make some monetization of it. So I would say day 1, day 2 are really important, and also later on day 7. So retention as a really important KPI. This is something that we at Nanobit really focus on, and we are tracking it, and we are trying to improve the retention to moving some obstacles and tracking the player data, and after we do the monetization optimization. So I would say retention, yeah.
Okay. Bryan, starting with retention, is that the most important KPIs for you?
Retention is the most important KPI, because you can't monetize a player that doesn't play your game. So if you can't keep them, this is just math. But one of the KPIs that I pay attention to specifically about monetization is time to second purchase. So I'm trying to understand, somebody spent money, thank you. Are they willing to do that again? Does my design hold up? Did they feel good about it? If they buy once and then quit my game, I mean, it's better than if they didn't, I guess, but that's not good for us. That hurts retention. So the time to second purchase is something that I pay attention to.
Totally agree. Actually, because I've been working in pricing for a long time, but we would always, when our sort of qualifying questions was, not even just that, but then your second purchase rate, right? And we would actually have a minimum of, you need 20% minimum, in order to have that purchase rate, we can help with dynamic pricing. So. Chris, anything to add in terms of, or even like some lesser known KPIs that might be interesting that maybe aren't some of the obvious ones that that you think are interesting?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same opinion as my fellow panelists. So I think retention is the first factor. You can't monetize somebody that will leave your game eventually. And usually, in a normal scenario, you paid a lot of money with UA for the players, so they better stick around. You better entertain them well enough. I don't really have any other KPIs apart from the obvious ones. So obviously ARPU, our PPU. So what do the guys spend if they spend? And then we're also looking into, because I'm actually pretty big on live ops as a background. So I think personalized offers is a big thing. So we qualify particular offers that are clustered by basically user base, so we cluster the user base into different kind of spending behavior, and then you try to follow up if it actually converted. So it's a conversion rate, not the first time purchase, but if they feel that your offers are valid, the targeted offers, basically.
Can I do your job for a second? Can I ask a question?
Take it over.
Thanks.
Of course, always.
How do you cluster your users, right? How do you cluster your players to understand what's the best offer to give them? What's that process like? Because I think that's actually really interesting.
Yeah, that's true. So we have a fairly easy approach, I would say. So basically, it's just about checking in what spender bucket the players are in, and then obviously you try to figure out what do they buy, you know, and what area of the game do they spend most time of. So in casino games, it's fairly simple because mainly we sell chips, but we're trying to migrate them in a higher spender bucket. That's in the casino games. That's pretty much the state of play. So you're just trying to make an offer which is slightly higher than what they spent before in a month, and then you know, see how they go with it. If you had the nice addressing of the player and if it actually converted. That's pretty much it. For casino titles. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. So we all agree retention, is first most important. You got fixed set retention, or you don't even worry about pricing, monetization really until you get that sorted. Agreed. What about, so once you are past that point and you're on kind of the monetization hurdles, what kind of things, specific things are you looking at to help tell you they're on the right path?
Well, so
you mentioned second purchase rate was one.
Exactly, second purchase rate, ROI, yep. Obviously, lifetime value of a player, which is very important to track. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's basic math. You spend a certain amount on a player, and obviously, you would be very happy if they spend it more than you paid for them in the game, and that's how you make money. Basically, that's very, very simple. Checking how long they stick around, how happy they are in the game. So basically, retention numbers, ARPU, RPPU. There's no real secret sauce, at least for the casino side of things.
Okay. Different question. So maybe, Bryan, we're talking. How about we're talking about building a game, building up. How about maintaining a game for the long run? And I know, Bryan, you before you went to Wooga, you were at Backflip. So you developed from inception, I understand, Dragonville. So a highly successful game, but I just had its 6-year anniversary. But I know you're not there anymore. But since you were there from inception and kind of managing it over a long period of time, talk about how maybe it changes, over time from first getting it live launched, and then what kind of things you're looking at. What are you doing to maintain it for the longer run?
The market changed pretty drastically in 6 years as well. Okay. So I think when we launched, ads were like anathema. It was you either were IAP or ads. You were not kind of a hybrid, and there wasn't opt-in. It was kind of interstitials, and so the market just changed pretty drastically. I mean, I think it was maybe the second year, and I'm getting old, so my memory of time is not great, but I think maybe it was the second year we added limited time events, which we hadn't had before. With your own special currency, it's a limited time, so you're not bloating the normal economy. You're just targeting that specific event, so there's some levers there. I mean, it's amazing. What is considered standard practice today was like revolutionary 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I think the main thing you can do for the long haul is pay attention to the market. Don't have any sacred things that you can't learn or bend, and talk to your players. Being close to your players and talking to them, hearing their feedback, hearing how they feel about things helped us make some very good decisions for the long haul, both for the design of the game, but as well as how to monetize it.
You mentioned you're in live ops for a long time, so what about you, Jure? You want to add something to that?
I agree. I mean, when you're building free-to-play, you need to focus on the long run. So when you release game globally, it all starts then, and we have some of the games that are alive for 3, 4, 5 years, and it's constantly doing some changes and building new features. Live ops are crucial, of course, and we do events, so bringing new features. So I would say this is one of the differences from premium to free-to-play games, because on a free-to-play game you have a live product that you need to care daily. We have daily teams that cover the product side and doing the optimizations. On games that are old, for 3 and 4 years, they are still having a big amount of people in teams that take care of those games. So
Yeah, just to add to that, you know, having a game live that is more or less successful is a content treadmill, and I think live ops is a good way, not only to bridge the gap, but to manually test out things. You know, just kickstart some events and see if it's liked, and then eventually that will also influence your roadmap because you can just build this into full-blown features, right? And another thing, obviously, is you know, if you have a hopefully more or less loyal user base, think about a loyalty program. Actually, a loyalty program works well. So we have a big, for the casino games at least, we have a lot of customer support that also focuses on VIP spenders and gives them, you know, a bit of a more personal approach and a better feel about the game.
Yeah, big fan of loyalty programs.
Yeah. If I can add one more thing from the design side, I would say if you're expecting your game to be around for a couple of years, from your economy design, you have to kind of think of inflation at some point. Because as you're going to add features to the game, in order for it to be compelling to the players, it's got to be worth their time and their money. But that means your economy also has to be able to support that. You can't just start printing extra money, because that's bad for everyone. So I would say if you're in the design phases as well, make sure that you've got, it's not like this tight, immalleable sort of economy that the first time you do anything, it breaks. I think that would be smart to plan for inflation.
Something I thought, so Brian, you said something you said, but anyone can answer this too, is like, how does, and you mentioned about change a lot, right? How, you know, ads is now kind of a bigger part, you know, things too. So we're talking about designing an IAP-oriented game. First choice, right? We want people to buy stuff that we're selling, but hey, we want to be able to monetize your traffic too. How do you think about ads within design of your game whenever you are actually first wanting them to make a purchase? Do they fit in? Do they don't fit in? What's your thoughts there? Anyone?
I think Jure said something really smart. You have to think of IAP design early. You also have to think of ads as a monetization tactic early. It's got to be something that fits within the game. It's got to fit within the narrative. It's got to be an experience that's not jarring. It can't break your economy entirely. So I think you have to be thinking of that. Like June's Journey is Wooga's latest success, and we thought of ads from the start. Sebastian Nussbaum like mandated to the team, think of ads, think of ads, think of ads. Mm-hmm. And there's key features in the game that are ad-centric, and so 80% of our audience watches at least one ad, and that's payers and non-payers alike. So I think if you're smart about the design early, it's a really enhancing experience instead of, you know, just a tacked-on thing.
Yeah. You want to add anything? How you think about ads? What about rewarded video? So, you know, rewarded video is an ad, but, you know, it's like, so I hear from people who sell rewarded video that, you know, it actually drives purchase for incrementally in-app purchases. True, false? How do you think about that?
Okay, so we're just combining those two questions now. I think, to be quite honest, that rewarded videos, they work a lot, and you have to think about where you classically place those advertisements. So they shouldn't be, you know, obviously they should follow a personal or a good positive experience in the game, so on and so forth. But to be quite blunt, you know, the best conversion for ads is like full-blown interstitial, in your face, very early on, which has for us the highest conversion rate, which is not very nice as a player, but it just freaking works, I have to be honest.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, in terms of rewarded videos, yeah, it's just a good way to get people to get a feel for your hard currency, you know, how it spends, what's the value of it. I watch a video, how much does that, you know, how much bang for my buck do I get? And then eventually, how much can I buy for it? That's quite substantial. And then with all those newer titles coming out, also these idle games where you can actually stack up on ads, right? You probably watch the same ad 7-8 times in a row, just to stack up on certain bonuses. This gives you a good feel of, you know, how the economy works, just to get a basic understanding on what hard currency is worth, you know, in comparison to soft currency and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that guys said. You can combine both. You can have in-app purchases and ads and still be successful in both areas, but you need to take care of design and to implement it really well. Some games are really designed for ad monetization, and some are not. So some of them have an advantage to be easily, people understand easily that they can monetize the game with ads because it's such a normal, natural way. Runners and those hyper-casual games. And there are games that cannot so be easily, in a way of having huge amount of money through the ad monetization. So yeah, depends on the design.
Do any of you guys apply any sort of rules for how to stream ads? Like, like a certain amount of time, hadn't made a purchase to do it, like say a mid-core game, or, no competitors,
Yeah, just jumping at this. Obviously, so we do keep a close tab on who's advertising in our network because, you, as I mentioned before, you spend a lot of money on your users at the end of the day, so you don't want any direct competitors to, snatch them off your face. So, we think it makes sense to see who's booking your placements and have a close tab on what's happening with your ad spaces. I think that makes absolute sense.
You guys feel the same, or?
Not exactly. We kind of look at it on a case-by-case basis. So last September, I think Playrix launched Homescapes, and they were just throwing money at everyone. We took that. We were happy to take that. But then, for an instance, we've seen, some of our games, the competitors those ads have a stronger impact, and some of them they have none. I was really cautious about ads cannibalizing payment. But every time we test that, I'm basically wrong. So I would say I'm no longer really worried that if I show you an ad, especially if it's opt-in, I'm no longer worried that's going to harm drastically your ability to enjoy the game or spend. It's just, I was cautious and I was wrong multiple times.
Okay. What about, so any monetization trends, innovative ideas, things that people that you're willing to share, with the audience that you're looking at, you saw last year or so? Maybe starting with you, Jure, if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think subscriptions did a good job. I mean, not like a huge thing happened, but still we have integrated subscriptions in our games. We saw that some loyal users are willing to pay for subscriptions if you're giving them some extra content and they're feeling like, oh, I'm feeling special. So subscriptions, but not as a huge chunk of your total in-app monetization. Also, I would explore more gacha elements and being focused on targeted and tailored offers for your users. So you need to monitor their data and just to offer someone what they really want to buy. And this is like a data science behind. So that's my point on that one.
When you're doing subscriptions, you're doing all you can eat, or are you offering still some things you're selling behind subscription?
Well, we are offering tickets for players. It's like a currency which allows player to read unlimitedly. So, and also we have other currency which is not included in subscriptions. It's a diamond. It's a hard currency that allows you to pick some special choices and assets and stuff like that. So we are not giving them all you got in a subscription. So it's kind of part.
Cool. Bryan?
Those were my two answers as well.
Okay.
Which was personalization, I think, is key, understanding your players and giving them the thing that they want. And the more we can drive that with data science, I think is good. And then subscriptions is also good because it's good business, not just for the player, but like specifically for Apple, after a year, you get 85% of the money, not 70%. Mm-hmm. So your profit margin increases with Apple if you have a subscription for a year. So it's, to me, that's something I'm kind of looking to unlock, and I don't think we've done that yet, but I'm going to ask you some questions about that later.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think, subscriptions definitely, and as I mentioned, the tendency to be able to stack up on ads was, for me at least, a novelty in the last year, especially in the idle games I played. Mm-hmm. So you can actually, binge watch ads in order to gain any benefit. I think that was quite a novelty. Yeah.
Cool. What about? It's more of a tactic and trend's been around for a long time. Have any of you guys worked implemented like annuities? Any of you can offer any tips along those lines within your games. Wait, actually, may I add a question to the audience? So does everyone know basically what an annuity is? No offering? Show of hands. Help. All right, so annuity essentially it's offering like a large amount of a good. So think of like a big bundle of coins, but presenting it as a very steep discount for the player. So a great deal, but then you are spreading this reward over a period of time. So buy 100 coins now, and then on a daily basis, you get maybe 10 coins, right? So it taps into players' behavior, that planner type behavior, right? So most IAP is oriented towards impulse purchase. Annuity is going to gear towards different type of people who are willing to trade time and effort in order to get a good deal for something. So it's actually quite effective.
Just to jump on that, so in my past experience, not only at Huuuge but before as well, it was more of a trial and error period, and we've seen that you get what you want right now is working much better. So the whole monthly ticket, or however you're going to call it, annuity, didn't work that well for us, to be quite honest, because people are very impatient. I mean, the target is clear. You say you're going to get so much more value for 30 days in order to also keep retention up, but for us, I have to say, maybe we didn't find the sweet spot just yet, but it has been all right, successful, but not as much as direct offers, I have to say, I have to admit.
Galaxy of Heroes, again, did that and then removed it because I think they were losing money because I'm the guy who was playing every day anyway.
Yeah.
So they gave me a discount of what I was already going to do. I think that actually hurt their bottom line. I can't confirm that. I should probably try and find that out, but I haven't seen it work very well. I think the buying psychology behind annuities, I think, kind of counteracts the positive trend, like Chris was saying.
Yeah, I think part of it, I think it's being able to roll out effectively is being able to target your audience, right? If you can segment them and identify who, which is hard to do, not saying, but that is one element of dynamic pricing, is knowing who is going to be willing. Because I agree. If someone's going to pay regular price and they're going to be like that, there's absolutely no reason to offer it. So if you would not agree with you, don't put it out for every single person, a player, because people were going to buy huge amounts right away. You're going to lose money on them. But if you can actually target people and segment them out, and then it can actually work.
Yeah, maybe it actually still exists in Galaxy of Heroes, but they realized that I'm
an
idiot.
Yeah.
And so maybe it does still exist. I don't know, but it doesn't exist for me.
But yeah, that's the point. It's funny that you didn't find out yet, because I think the community isn't stupid, right? They talk to each other, and we did a lot of targeted offers, and then you get some community backlash. It's like, hey, this guy got this offer and I didn't. And then you're like, well, eventually it will hit you as well. It's computer generated, whatever, which is partly true. But you have to be careful with that. So, and eventually offer something for everybody. Otherwise, the community will definitely give you a hard time about it.
I want to come back to that, but maybe Jure, do you have any other comments about, have you done nudies or just
Yeah, not really. I agree with the guys. We are still exploring that option. We are still not find the sweet spot for that. So we see much more influence from those targeted offers we have and regular purchases. So yeah.
Sure. Okay. You touched on community too. So that's obviously something in dynamic pricing you have to be very, very careful about, making sure so we have ways of sort of, helping and protect against that. But how do you guys think about community and how people interact when you're designing monetization features within your games?
Well, so it's always important to listen, obviously. That said, your community will always want free stuff and amazing stuff, obviously. So be careful to take everything for granted, or to make this your basic guideline of design. I think that's difficult to do. However, in terms of pricing, you just got to double check that you're fair. Keep a view on your ratings, on your player feedback, on the forums, and so on and so forth, because they might feel it's unfair. But it's definitely something that can eventually backfire hardly in your face if you don't take care of it. So, yeah, we have a big customer support team taking care of it, VIP support team to take care of it. So we definitely take their input very seriously.
Yeah, I mean, all of the bad ratings that we got from players are mostly because of they are mentioning that in-app purchases are expensive, but I think it's quite common. Everyone writes that. But if you have good engagement from your community, they can give you really good tips and what to do next and how they feel about game. And definitely, this is something that you need to listen and try to work it out to make mutual satisfaction as your business and your players, because players are the most important. And yeah, that's it.
We do a lot of A/B testing. I think is important. And then I think something Chris said was really good. We err on the side of caution because I can always give more to my players. It is very difficult to take something away. Yeah. So I err on the side of caution, but that's more my personality.
Okay.
And a secret advice, if I may say so, if you have an in-game chat, sometimes it's worthwhile eavesdropping a bit on what they're talking about, how they converse about your game, think about it. I think there's some...
In a GDPR compliant way.
Of course. Didn't I mention? Of course.
Thank you, Bryan.
Yeah, it can be totally anonymous, doesn't matter, but it's, they have some good feedback most of the time, if it stays classy.
Always stay classy. Okay, well, maybe slight point. We've been talking about IP monetization too, but you mentioned, I know you guys are looking at the hyper casual. So obviously charts for the last few years have been very much mid-core and casual. In many ways, I think casual sort of implement a lot of mid-core type features in terms of monetization, and now you're seeing kind of the explosion of hyper casual games, right? So tell us about what you think about these games. Are they going to be here for a little while? Is there just a reaction to stuff?
Well, just to jump immediately at it, as I mentioned in my panel just prior, I think a lot of those things are not new. I've been playing on Newgrounds and Congregate for ages, to be honest, and most of the stuff that I see in the hyper-casual market has been done in Flash games ages ago. So that's actually a good source to check, what is hot, what's fun, and also can inspire you for new ideas. I think hyper-casual will be around for a longer period. Obviously, the games serve a particular type of audience, and also they are hyper-casual. That means you don't stick around for long. You can still monetize on those people, but it's more of a time killer type games. If you implement something cool like a loyalty program across games, that's another way to eventually tackle that whole thing, because obviously, again, you spend some money on the users, and you have, what their taste is in the hyper-casual market, so you could funnel them around. So that's definitely something to look at. But yeah, I think they'll be around for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge hit. I like hyper casual games. I played it before even becoming a hit. I think there is a future for it, and like really short sessions, many sessions. This is something that we all can spend our times. And mobile phone is always in our pocket, so I would say definitely hyper casual will stand for a long time. Yeah.
I mean, you need to be interruptible, right? Because you text, you call, those types of things. So I think hyper casual will stick around for quite some time. For Wooga, we've just chosen a different spot in the market, right? That's not our thing. Our thing is to be a bit more narrative driven, I want you to wonder about my characters when you're not playing the game. I don't really think about the world of the hyper-casual games when I'm not playing them. So I think it's sort of two different audiences, but I think that audience exists. It's kind of inherent in the device, and it'll be around for a while.
Yeah. I mean, certainly companies, Voodoo, catch up high in the download charts. What about the same kind of theme, sort of like looking ahead? You said you're going to be around for a long time. Any other monetization trends that you're looking to say 2019 predictions or things you're thinking about as you're designing games?
So just to combine that with a prior point, I think there's main drivers for people to pay and play eventually, and this will never change. Just to mention, I'm a big PUBG fan, as you can see from my shirt today. I think competition is a major driver, right? Competition, vanity, being better than your friends is a major thing, and it will still remain that way. And if you can tackle or tease that in a way it is innovative, I think you do have money at your hands. You know, it's not just your native kind of leaderboards that you have on iOS or Facebook Connect. It needs to be a bit more innovative than that. So if you find a good way to make people compete in short sessions or for something particular, and not only in brutal PvP, but something that you might be better at, you know, I don't know, you know, just maybe if you like city builder games, maybe you're the wood guy, right? You just gather more wood than the others, or gold or whatever. So find something that you're particularly good at and that you can beat your friends at. I think that's where some potential is in, for sure.
Jure, any thoughts? Or?
I mean, CPI trends is getting a rise, and still it's there, and you need always to have your LTV over the CPI costs, of course. So definitely a deep understanding of your player and like getting the most of his money on the table, so you can keep the running on the market, because market is flooded with many titles. Every day is released, I don't know how many, and Apple has content for every week to feature some really good games. So you need to be really focused and trying to find good reference, but being original, and you will hit your time. That's it.
Okay. And Bryan, anything you're willing to share?
Yeah, if I had like the key to the next wave of monetization, I probably wouldn't say it right here. I'd keep that. But one of the things that a problem I've been trying to solve and I've not been able to do yet, so feel free to solve it and then let me know, is that the way to kind of unlock the paying psychology of the helper. I didn't plan to fly to Serbia and talk about my mom, but hi mom. She was not going to spend money in a game. She's never going to spend $5 in a game for herself. But if she thought she could spend $5 for me or my brothers, she would do that in a heartbeat. Like, I took my mom to the PUBG thing in Berlin because
so good. Sorry.
My 70-year-old mother wanted to go to the PUBG live event because she wanted to buy stuff for my nephews back in the States. And so there's a purchasing psychology of somebody who's never going to spend $5 for a virtual hat for themselves, but they would do it for somebody else. So I think if we can find a way to safely unlock the helper, like somebody who wants to spend money on their guild and make things easier for everyone else, if we can do that in a way that doesn't break the game and isn't hackable, because at that moment you're giving the power to your community to mess with your economy, it's a little dangerous. But I think if we could unlock that, I think that would be a good monetization tactic for certain types of games.
Cool.
You have been talking about subscriptions, and you mentioned like giving players something they would be paying for anyway at a discount is not a good thing. Doesn't that apply to subscription as well? Or do you think that people are just so lazy to cancel subscription that it still outperforms that in the end? Or would you say maybe you should design a subscription in a way where it offers something else that players wouldn't buy, like on the shops themselves?
I'll start, then I think you have opinions, because you always have opinions. I think you've got to design a subscription in a way that feels good to the player, but also doesn't feel unfair to everyone else. So it's a fine line there. I think early access, so maybe you get the content days before or a week before or something, I think is something that you could do, because then you're, as a player, you go, do I care enough to pay to get it earlier? Nah. So I think early access is something, or potentially maybe there's some kind of vanity item in your game for people who want to do something where that matters to them. You know, a subscription star on their icon when in chat or something. So I think you can do things that don't break the game, but also don't wreck your economy. So it is a fine line in my brain.
Well, not much to add to that. I believe in doing something completely different for subscriptions. So nothing like the monthly pass or playing around with currency, but something that's very valuable for players, like potentially another building queue or something, which might potentially be unfair, but you know, something that is actually worth the bang for the buck, plus which is worthwhile coming back for. So I think that makes sense. But yeah, as Bryan mentioned, it's a thin line. You gotta probably A/B test around with that a bit to be able to make the right decision.
So, you mentioned there are like a lot of different audiences for different games. Like there are hyper casual, which don't do much EAP. There are most of them right now are casual, but you also mentioned we're seeing a lot of mid-core and a lot of casual / mid-core titles, and they all like monetize differently. And you also mentioned to think about the economy early on, and yeah, I agree. Like it's easier to put the game around the economy than vice versa. So my question is basically talking about game economies in general. What do you think works best? Like you mentioned, gacha / loot box something, or maybe cosmetics or battle passes or whatever. So something about that.
So just quickly tackling that. So I do believe still, or my major monetization experience has actually evolved around gacha, to be quite honest. I think it's still a very valid system. It's gotten under fire recently a lot, you know, also in the public, and understand that. I still don't believe it's gambling that much. But I think the psychology behind it is super powerful. The things you have to give out in gacha don't have to be game breaking. They can also be built around vanity, like Overwatch did. So I don't think it's gambling at all, to be honest. But I can see where the danger comes from, because you obviously target also a very young audience. So I understand. Just in general, I think it's a very, very smart thing to do. Another thing is that I shouldn't probably say that, doesn't matter. So something that I've made a very good experience with, we called it a tiered spender. So you know what you're gonna get. There's another gacha system like that in, I forgot what it's called. It was in Rage of Bahamut, it's also in Legendary. So you're sure to get something particular because you have a limited selection of gacha chests with a limited amount of content. And you know if you have gotten that one, it'll be crossed out. So you know what's left. So you're actually sure to get something at the end of the day, but it might be quite costly. So I think these mechanics are still very, very, very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I would not focus only on mechanics. I mean, there is a good examples of mechanics online, and there is good references in games. I think it's all behind it's psychology from your player to do. Like, is it he hooked more on a vanity, and is it more like, is it the community social game that some other player can see each other's and see, oh, this city, this town is really developed and mine is underdeveloped, so you will bring this vanity effect. And I would say maybe optimizing those feelings and actually bringing those feelings from players. It depends on the game, and then there is a bunch of good mechanics. Each can work if you know you've hit the target of the feeling of the player. You can then offer the gacha, you can offer the any other monetization, and it turns out really good. That's my opinion.
I think one of the reasons that gacha works is the surprise element of the psychology, but it's also because it's repeatable. So from an economy design standpoint, I think any type of purchase that doesn't break the game but is repeatable, I think is probably, Dave Cross, who I work with, says, you want something they can take a bite out of the apple every day, and that it always kind of regenerates. So I would say from an economy design standpoint, having something in your free-to-play game from an IAP standpoint that is repeatable is probably is a good idea.
Just because I need to add to that, I spend a crap load of money on PUBG and I spend a crap load on Dota. That doesn't mean I'm a good player. You know, you can still spend so much money on it, and you have a good heads-up display. You have fancy dresses. That doesn't make you a good player, so it doesn't affect balancing. That, in my world, is actually the perfect way to do it. To be quite honest.
Cool.
Hi, guys. Thanks for a great talk. And one question. How do you feel about branded cross-promotion? For example, like home decor, you decorate your home and then go online and buy that couch and you get some money from that, or something like that. Is there a future, or it's...
Do you mean cross-platform?
No, I mean connecting the real world and selling the real stuff through the games.
Okay, that's something we've all been toying with, to be quite honest. it's still, you know, it's still not within the vicinity of the medium necessarily, right? So it's quite difficult to pull off. Plus, depends heavily on your target market as well. So it has to be available in all your target markets, right? So you got to find the supplier or somebody to tackle with, to partner with that has the ubiquity, so is available in all your target markets. Like, you know, I don't want to say, I don't know, McDonald's or something, right? So, so it's definitely an idea to toy with, but it's still not an immediate satisfaction, right? Anything about purchase or monetization is about you want this now because you feel like, you know, you want it and you feel like you want to treat yourself. That's like shopping. And if you don't get that, if you get a voucher for McDonald's or whatever and I'm going to do it tomorrow, it's like it doesn't have that same kind of value feel to it, I think. So I haven't seen any model pull through with that is worthwhile, like making a major monetization idea about.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing that home design has, I think, and Fashion Covet, right? So they have a opportunity when you design something, then you have an option to visit the site and actually buy that. Is that actually the product?
I'm not sure. I'm not playing that game. I'm just guessing.
Okay, because that works really good, and it's actually served the player to explore while playing the game. He just sees some item that is nice and he wants to buy it in his apartment. So it's like easy to kind of advertise those items. But in general, on some smaller level, on an indie level, I think it's hard work to do, and yeah, not sure how it works with other games. This is like more design game, so it's like easy. It's good product placement, I would say.
I mean, World of Warcraft did that, where you were able to get a statue of your own character. So I think in a game where you have vanity items and you can dress up your character and it feels like there's potential there. But I think the logistical nightmare is real. We did plushies and t-shirts with Dragonvale, and we tried to tie that, like if you bought this in-app purchase, you could get like a discount code on the plushie, and it was just, I made me want to gouge my eyes out. It was such a pain in the ass. So I think there's value there for brand building and for an attachment and for community, but from a high-level monetization thing, maybe.
Where do you go to, like, resource-wise? Maybe, like, what are the things that you're reading? Where are you going? Maybe that's helpful for people in the audience, where you get kind of stay up on things, online resources, books, as you think about this topic.
Well, usually when I explore, you mean when exploring for new references, I'm playing the games daily, installing new games. This is a good hint for everyone. Just give it a try. Even if the game is not the game that you will usually play, just play to see what these guys did and what did they bring to the game, and maybe it will, light a fire, and you will get another great idea, which will lead to the next Clash Royale game. And so also there is plenty of YouTube links, which when I need like quick research, I just do like YouTube video and then just skipping till I get the point. And also there is good books about psychology, and so yeah, this is kind of my main resources that I use for research.
So as I mentioned before, I can highly recommend going on platforms like Newgrounds or Congregate, just because there's ways to filter for your taste, and I'm pretty sure you'll find titles there that will come back in one way or another on mobile. And I highly encourage you to not only think about the core mechanic or the game itself, but also on the style, right? Imagine, I don't know, I'm a big 80s fan, so everything that's pink and has like a cool 80s synthy kind of soundtrack always appeals to me. So it might just be that you find a particular style of game or like a way to market it that might be very appealing. So yeah, so it's like within music, right? Everything comes back. So I think lots of the stuff that you find on Newground and Congregate will come back to mobile at some point.
Right.
I fly to conferences and talk to smart people. For real, I think I get most of the information and research from talking to folks out there while we're playing their indie games, or just asking what Chris is excited about, or what are you saying, Ted? I think it's mostly industry people is how I keep caught up.
Cool. Actually, I think a question related. Earlier we talked about. Everyone agreed that ads can complement IAP pricing. Kind of maybe just fast answers from each one of you is the right away. Are you showing ads, or are you kind of waiting for a certain period of time before they haven't purchased to show? Are you all doing ads right away, or some sort of other mechanic to determining when to serve or who to serve these ads to?
We have different versions in our portfolio, so sometimes it's right away, sometimes it isn't. It kind of just depends on the metrics, the A/B test, what we're seeing.
Yeah, it's similar at Nanobit. Yeah, so we have like different approaches for different games. So, yeah.
Okay. Any specific metrics you can share?
Same here.
Yeah.
So we don't right now, but that's definitely one of the things that has definitely great potential, like guild versus guild kind of things. So depending on how you entwine the monetization, indirectly you can affect monetization with a guild versus guild event or PvP. But so far, I think in our huge portfolio we haven't explored it to the full extent, to be quite honest. But it's definitely on the list because, as I mentioned, competition is a major driver in monetization.
We don't do any of that. We don't do any PvP.
What are those smart people telling you?
Well, no, I think we have competitive people in our adventure clubs in Pearl's Peril, which you'd be surprised how competitive these old ladies can be sometimes. It's not just old ladies, but it does surprise me, like when my mom gets really competitive. I'm like, it's weird, Mom. So I think finding a way to cooperate with other people, I think that guild versus guild thing, I think makes sense, but it's just so outside my area of expertise that I'd feel like a pretender giving you an answer.
All right. Thank you all very much.